As MC sat in class, his thoughts refused to settle, circling endlessly around the single, bewildering fact that his sister had kissed him. The scene replayed in his mind like a glitching memory, her face, her calmness, the sheer absurdity of it. He couldn't make sense of it. Yuri had never mentioned a boyfriend odd, considering how effortlessly beautiful she was. It wouldn't have been shocking if she had 1, 2, or even 20 admirers. And yet, the idea that she'd kissed him, her own brother, was unthinkable. Then, like a spark igniting in the dark, a wild realization struck him, snapping all the scattered pieces into place. Without a second thought, MC shot up from his seat and exclaimed his revelation: his sister must be a witch. The entire class froze. Yuri's sharp shut up sliced through the air, her face flaring red with embarrassment. A moment of stunned silence passed before Fujiro, the teacher, returned to the lesson, though even she seemed faintly unsettled by how unusually high the class's average test scores had been lately. MC, however, felt nothing but mild satisfaction. The study sessions he'd organized had gone far better than expected, with more students joining every day. Myo, leaning against a nearby desk, announced that MC had ranked third in the class and teasingly asked if he'd even studied. MC didn't bother responding, merely telling Mr. Refreshingly Handsome not to address him so casually, his thoughts already drifting toward the basketball match, an event Myo had been annoyingly enthusiastic about. When Myo smugly declared his own 10th place rank, MC gave only a dry, sarcastic nod before advising him to treat Kamishiro better if he valued their friendship. The jab clearly hit, Myo's smile faltered, and he muttered something about getting angry. Meanwhile, Sakurai and Manita sat slumped over their desks, lamenting their poor scores until Sakurai abruptly shifted the mood by suggesting plans for Golden Week. MC offhandedly mentioned that Myo was being invited, to which Myo retorted that MC was included too. The very idea made MC scoff. Him, invited? Impossible. He brushed it off, calling himself a loner and warning Myo not to make reckless assumptions. But when Sakurai confirmed he actually was invited, MC's composure cracked. "You're kidding," he said, tense. Sakurai only laughed softly, asking if it was really that shocking. Flustered, MC stammered something about not wanting to be openly included, insisting that if they were going to pity invite him, they should at least do it behind his back, exactly what he expected from Sakurai, whom he teasingly called Elizabeth. The name struck a nerve. Sakurai's eyes welled up, her voice trembling as she protested that she'd never do something so cruel. Manita, too, looked wounded, asking if MC didn't want to go out with them. He sighed, shaking his head. No, that wasn't it. He was just curious. Curious about what, exactly, awaited him beyond the walls of his self-imposed solitude. Mana smiled gently, reassuring MC that it would be fun, urging him to at least think about joining. Her warmth drew his attention, and in that moment, something clicked in his mind. She was a girl, and perhaps the perfect person to answer the question that had been haunting him. Without hesitation, he turned to her and asked, blunt as ever, "Are you?" The rest of his words barely left his lips before Mana recoiled, her face twisting in disbelief. "I'm not that kind of woman," she snapped, cheeks flushed with indignation. Myo nearly collapsed beside them, mortified by his friend's astounding lack of tact. Realizing he might have gone too far, MC quickly apologized, though Mana brushed it off with a cold sigh. Instead, she brought up something else, his earlier outburst in class, the moment he'd loudly accused his sister of being a witch. "Was that," she asked sharply, "connected to what you just asked me?" MC hesitated, the weight of her words pressing down on him. Finally, he admitted the truth. His sister, Yuri, had kissed him. The confession slipped out like a whisper, but the silence that followed told him the damage was done. The entire class had heard. In an instant, the room erupted, questions flying from every direction, voices overlapping, curiosity turning to chaos. Overwhelmed, MC bolted from his seat and left the classroom, desperate for quiet. The empty hallways offered him a fragile kind of peace as he wandered aimlessly, lunch in hand. Near the stairwell, he spotted Kyuka sitting alone, her expression distant and annoyed. She didn't acknowledge him, and he didn't force it. Sometimes, he thought, people just needed to be left alone. Settling nearby, he unwrapped his lunch, great bread and cheese milk bread, his oddly perfect comfort combo. Just as he was about to take a bite, Kyuka shifted closer, her eyes narrowing. "You really just ignore me and start eating?" she asked. MC sighed, muttering that she was such a pain, but a strangely endearing one. She let out a small laugh, amusement flickering through her irritation. "Don't think I've forgiven you yet," she warned, though her tone softened. It didn't bother him, he wasn't expecting forgiveness anyway. Then she mentioned, almost offhandedly, how she had waited there once or twice a week like she said she would, but he never came. The realization hit him like a dull ache, he'd completely forgotten. He tried to cover it up with a vague excuse about being busy, but Kyuka's knowing look cut straight through the lie. "You forgot," she said simply. He chuckled weakly, conceding defeat. When he asked if she came by every day, she shot back that it wasn't like that, she just liked to be alone sometimes and didn't care about him at all. MC tilted his head, half teasing, half sincere, wondering if she was as much of an introvert as he was. Her glare warned him not to mix her up with his brooding tendencies. As he studied her expression, the defiance, the quiet loneliness behind it, he couldn't help thinking she was like some kind of goddess he didn't even know the name of. Kyuka looked visibly offended, reminding MC that she had already introduced herself, though he barely heard her. His attention had wandered to the disappointing taste of the grape filling in his bread, far too bland for his liking. Irritated, Kyuka pressed him, asking if he was even listening or remotely interested in her. She went on, half in jest, half in pride, boasting that she was actually quite popular among the students. Without missing a beat, MC looked up and asked flatly if she was just pretending to be a star. The remark caught her completely off guard, her face turned pink as she told him to stop being so mean, it was embarrassing. Realizing he'd pushed her too far, MC awkwardly tried to comfort her, fumbling for words that didn't sound condescending. Before he could, Kyuka's attention shifted, Hinagi was walking by with an unfamiliar boy. Kyuka's eyes lit up with mischief as she grabbed MC's sleeve and dragged him behind a pillar to watch. "Looks like a confession," she whispered excitedly. MC couldn't help but notice how natural this seemed for her, she must have been confessed to plenty of times herself, just as she'd claimed earlier. While they hid, his mind, ever unpredictable, wandered off again. "You know," he murmured suddenly, "cheese milk bread's kinda funny. It's like double dairy." Kyuka blinked at him, unimpressed. "You really don't care about what's happening, do you?" she muttered under her breath, half amused, half exasperated. This guy seriously needs a diagnosis, she thought. Still, her curiosity won out as they turned back to the scene unfolding before them. Hinagi and the boy stood a few meters away, voices low but tense. "Do you know them?" Kyuka whispered. MC nodded. "Hinagi's my classmate." Kyuka admitted the whole sneaking around thing was a hassle. But admittedly kind of thrilling. MC remembered Hinagi had mentioned a breakup not long ago, so seeing her with someone new wasn't exactly surprising. Still, Kyuka murmured, clutching her knees, "She's so cute. I wonder what happened to her." MC smirked, sensing a chance to tease. "So, you're saying you're cuter?" he asked, and then, as if to twist the knife, added, "By the way, lunch is already over." Her temper flared instantly. "You really want me to punch you, don't you?" she shot back, glaring at him. Even so, there was a strange, electric rhythm to their exchanges, like two mismatched melodies somehow in sync. As they returned to their classrooms, neither noticed the quiet figure trailing a few paces behind them, a mysterious girl, her gaze fixed solely on MC. Later that day, during club hours, one of Yuri's friends approached MC with a snack, playfully offering to feed him. Before he could react, Yuri intervened, her tone sharp yet oddly possessive. "Don't feed him. I'll do it." The girl laughed awkwardly, but Yuri didn't back down. She fed MC the snack herself, leaving him no choice but to open his mouth like some obedient pet, humiliation and confusion mixing in his chest. The others watched, whispering. One girl tilted her head and asked curiously, "So this is your little brother? He doesn't really look like you." MC chuckled and agreed jokingly, which only deepened Yuri's glare. "That joke," she said coldly, "made Mom cry once." The room went silent until the girl stammered an apology. Changing the subject, Yuri turned to MC, her expression unreadable. Anyway, she said, voice dropping low, I've been hearing rumors about the student council president. How much of it is true? Realizing this was his moment to set the record straight, MC straightened his posture and declared with calm confidence that the rumors about the student council president were completely false. There's no truth to it, he said firmly. She never told me to become her special friend. A murmur rippled through the group, though he reluctantly added, she did kneel down, but only to ask me to be a friend. The room went silent. Yuri stared at him in disbelief, and one of her friends raised an eyebrow. Is there even a difference? She asked dryly. MC tried to defend himself, insisting that the order of the words made it entirely different, but the girls exchanged doubtful looks, unimpressed by his logic. With a huff, Yuri slammed her hand on the desk and declared that she would summon that girl herself, demanding her friends prepare for a vote of confidence immediately. Alarmed, MC quickly waved his hands, trying to defuse the situation. No, the president didn't say anything like that. It's just a misunderstanding. One of Yuri's friends hesitated before nodding in agreement, nervously echoing, yeah, the president would never say something like that, a rumor's just a rumor, right? But then MC froze mid-sentence as a memory surfaced, the president's voice echoing in his head. Embrace me. The words slipped out of his mouth before he could stop them. The room went still. The girl who'd spoken earlier gaped at him. Then, it's not really a rumor, is it? Another girl sighed dramatically, saying they'd just uncovered something shocking and asked what they were supposed to do now. Yuri turned to him, her eyes sharp. Well, MC, she said coolly, what do you think? Weighing his options, MC muttered that their odds were about 50-50, after all, the president was beautiful, but quickly added that he had no intention of falling for her charms. Yuri immediately assumed she was the reason for his moral fortitude, and he had no choice but to nod in reluctant agreement. Freedom of speech, it seemed, did not exist for him. The tension broke when one of the girls casually asked how Yuri was doing at home, while another teased her about how popular she'd become lately. MC simply shrugged in acknowledgement, but Yuri, pouting slightly, declared that she wasn't particularly happy. Her friends teased her for pretending not to care, and MC, perhaps to lighten the mood, said he was glad she was liked and admired. His words made her brighten instantly. Smiling, she threw her arms around him in an affectionate hug, telling him to keep looking forward to her. Her friends exchanged knowing glances, whispering about how Yuri always melted when it came to her brother. Then, one girl, smirking, asked what the two of them were like at home. Without a shred of hesitation, MC replied that Yuri was usually just walking around in her underwear. The reaction was instant. Yuri's face turned crimson as she snapped that if he kept talking, she'd sleep in his bed that night as punishment. Completely unfazed, MC continued, saying that she also had a habit of drinking milk while in said state of undress. The girls erupted in a mix of laughter and outrage. One joked that this must be the secret behind Yuri's exceptional development, while another giggled at MC's brutal honesty. MC, ever detached, merely commented that body development was more about genetics anyway. As the laughter slowly faded, he noticed Yuri's shoulders stiffen, a strange tension settling over her once again, a quiet, unreadable emotion flickering behind her teasing smile. With a bashful blush coloring her cheeks, Yuri murmured softly that if MC truly wanted to sleep with her that badly, then she would be ready for it. The words hung in the air like a thunderclap, so bold and misplaced that even their ancestors must have flinched. MC nearly collapsed from sheer mortification, realizing instantly that they were not on the same page. All he'd meant was that she'd take his bed while he slept on the couch, not whatever that was. Before he could recover, one of Yuri's friends remarked that social media was going to explode again, given how much people had already been talking about him lately. MC blinked, confused, prompting the girls to elaborate. Apparently, his reputation on campus had become quite the topic. He brushed it off, saying he didn't use SNS or group chats, which one of the girls confirmed, noting that he barely even looked at his phone. It's probably for the best, she added. You'd be traumatized if you saw half of what's out there. Yuri giggled and declared that her brother was hopeless anyway, so there was no need to worry. The girls laughed, agreeing they could say whatever they wanted since he wouldn't find out. Eventually, MC excused himself, deciding to head home. As he walked through the quiet streets, a thought lingered in his mind: how rumors had a life of their own. Whether true or false, it didn't matter. They spread with the same fervor, devouring truth and twisting it into something grotesque. They were monsters born from curiosity, envy, and fear, and those caught in their grasp were left scarred. Elsewhere that evening, Hinagi sat alone in a dim room, her phone's glow reflecting in her eyes as she scrolled through the cruel flood of comments that bore her name. Her lips trembled, her expression a portrait of silent despair. Later that night, MC stirred awake to the sound of movement in his room. His heart jumped, someone was there. As his eyes adjusted to the darkness, he saw Yuri kneeling beside his bed. "Yuri," he whispered, dazed. Without hesitation, she began unbuttoning her shirt, her tone maddeningly casual. "You said you wanted me to sleep with you, right? So, should I wear pajamas or not?" she asked, as if discussing the weather. MC's mind short-circuited. Words failed him, he could only gape in stunned disbelief at the surreal absurdity unfolding before him. The next morning, school life resumed, though the day felt eerily off. There was no overpowered student council pulling strings behind the scenes, no gossip-hungry newspaper club chasing scandalous exclusives, no zealous disciplinary committee marching the halls. MC's life was typically quiet, almost dull, but not today. From the moment he entered the classroom, the air was heavy with tension and whispers. Conversations stopped and eyes darted away as he passed. Concerned, he turned to Mana and Mio, who hurried over with grim expressions. Mio handed him her phone, showing him an anonymous online post. As his eyes scanned the screen, his stomach dropped. The post was vicious as pages of slander aimed at Hinagi, accusing her of manipulative behavior, promiscuity, and chasing after any boy she could. Across town, Hinagi sat alone in the faint glow of her phone, shoulders trembling as she read the words tearing her reputation apart. The same monster MC had reflected on earlier had found its next prey, and this time, it had a name.